Welcome everyone to this segment featuring executives who are in the head of sales role. My name is Kik Molitor and I'm a pro sales junior from Buena Vista, Colorado. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Jeff Hardy, who is the VP and GM of the Americas for BMC. Welcome, Jeff.
Hi, thank you. How are you?
Good. It's a good day out here. As we get started, would you please share a little with the audience about your background and career?
Yeah, sure. I graduated, well, I was still in school, actually. I started a company, I graduated, worked in that organization for a number of years. What we did was was a project outsourcing company. It was, not to date myself, but it was, back when Y2K was a big deal. So we did a lot of consulting around that. And then just after, a bit of time doing that, life sort of took control and some things were changing. We were moving to New York and I started looking for something else to do with my time. And so I exited that and happened to latch on with BMC Software. And so I've been here at BMC for, a bit over 20 years in various roles. I started in sales for our consulting services organization, had a number of roles there, moved into an account management role when we moved back to Chicago, did that for 7-8 years, and then went into our sales best practices organization, which is an organization that sits sort of in between the triangle of our customer, our sales teams, and then all of our sort of back office functions. And our the BP team's role is really to, structure win-win arrangements for all of those parts of the organization. Did that for a number of years, had a number of leadership positions in that, and then moved into the Americas leadership team. And so I've led various parts of that organization for the better part of the last dozen years or so. Most recently as the head of sales for the Americas. So that's, sort of my background. Educationally, I am a history major, selling technology. So, go figure. I do think, my educational background does inform some of the interactions I have with customers and my appreciation for sales process and, what that looks like. But that was in a short, in a quick segment, how I got here.
I love the history background. Was there a specific major that you focused in on that history?
So interestingly, I was a diplomatic history major, which I think connects pretty easily to sales, to interacting with customers, to solving problems, and then ultimately to negotiating outcomes. So that is ironically what I majored in.
That's great. I love hearing a history background. But next question I want to ask you is, as you lead a sales organization at BMC, what does a typical day look like for you currently? Do you mind walking us through the responsibilities and activities that keep you busy?
Yeah, not at all. It is a lot of talking with people and meeting with people. There's a lot of interacting with, the team, with various stakeholders, business partners, executives within the organization, and then, hopefully a lot of interacting with customers. There are days where, we spend a lot of time talking with, analysts, partners, you name it as well. But by and large, it is lots of discussion with the teams around how we're doing with regard to, the forecast, with pipeline, specific deals, and then talking to customers about the problems we face and what we can do to help them. It is not out of the ordinary that 5 or 6 o'clock rolls around, and that is the first time I'm off the phone from the beginning of the day until the end. And that's usually when I start trying to, comb through email, follow up on things. There's some little breaks here and there, but that's how the majority of those days go. then we get up and do it again. So you get very comfortable with the idea that there's never any real end of job, right? There's always more that we can do, and you just keep going.
Yeah, and in what you just explained, what would you say is your favorite part about those daily activities?
Interacting with customers for sure, right? Like
Okay.
there's never a bad day that can't be corrected with a good sales call. I've got a couple of leaders on my team where, we'll talk about the fact that we might be struggling with a topic internally, right? Quota setting or business plans, right? Or whatever it might be. And, we'll get halfway through the day and start talking about, what would be good right now? Like, I would love to go talk to a customer about, something, anything. But look, any interaction with customers is a good thing, whether we're trying to help them with something new, or whether we're, talking about, a work stream or an engagement or something that, we're midstream on. So that's for sure my favorite part.
That's great. And so your company, BMC, that you're working for, has an impressive track record in the industry, being around for over 40 years. And so what are some of the key resources and tools that BMC relies on to drive the sales success in your company?
I think they break down around three main areas, right? So the first is, I think we have a very differentiated sales process, right? So there's a secret sauce that, comes from MEDDIC from a qualification framework standpoint to the value framework, right? And really leveraging a value framework as a way to present everything from the burning platform we're trying to get the customer to jump from to the future that we're trying to paint for them, to getting to yes, to the way that we're transforming how we build pipeline, right? Those processes that we rely on day to day, I think allow us to differentiate ourselves against our competition, to help our customers in a way that other competitors can't, and to make us effective as salespeople, right? Second part is we have a lot of partners in this space, right? Really good ones. We've got great resellers, right? Who typically have some expertise in a market, in a vertical, in a technology space, whatever it might be, that we can leverage to create win-win opportunities for the two of us, right? To go to market with our end users to drive success for them. We've got great relationships with outsourcers and integrators, right? Where we're increasingly becoming a bigger part of their strategy, right? We have this sort of nascent, emerging opportunity with the hyperscalers, right? With Google, with AWS, with Oracle, that's really only just beginning to bear fruit. And we're really sort of, as our presence in those marketplaces improve, and as our co-selling activities multiply, that's becoming, a more interesting space for us. MSPs, distributors, right? There's a lot of ways from an indirect standpoint. There are a lot of tools and resources from an indirect standpoint that really help us. And then lastly, look, we've got a pretty rich community at BMC that, from a social selling standpoint, in terms of leveraging each other's contacts, in terms of, selling together across different business units, in terms of selling with the executives and leveraging their contacts and their resources. There are a lot of resources. There are a lot of things that we can rely on there to help us drive pipeline and sales and all that stuff. So that's those are, they sort of fall into those three things for me: tools and process, sort of partners, and then, our crew here.
Yeah. No, thanks for breaking that up into three different categories. I think that's helpful to understand. Channels is something really fun. I've been actually working on a little channels project myself, so it's been cool to see how BMC leverages those partner relationships. So
good, cool.
So moving on to another question, motivation. So
Mhm.
motivating a team is crucial. You know this, and so could you share some of the tactics and strategies you employ to inspire and get the most out of your sales team?
Sure. So I, I'll start with the basic, right? There's obviously, there's plenty of stuff written, right? And classes taught and things around connecting, a company's, goals and strategy to, a geos to an organization's down to the individual contributor level, and making that real for them all along the way by sort of connecting it up that value chain or up that organizational structure. Um, for me, motivating the teams about a couple of things. One is I want them, while I want competitors, and while I want people who want to fight and win deals and help customers, I also want them to work together, and I think it's vital that they work together. So, really instilling in our organization a concept of teamwork, and all for one, one for all sort of ethos is really important. I think you do that by allowing the team, asking the team to work hard, allowing them to play hard too. I think you do that um, by by recognizing people. So, it's one person wins a deal. We are never alone in winning a deal with a customer. There is always a team that works together to get those kinds of things done, making sure that we recognize everybody on the team, not just the sales rep, et cetera. So I think that's part of it too. And I think lastly, we've got to, as leaders, we've really got to focus on making sure that our teams and our employees and our sellers, that we understand them as individuals, and that that nobody comes to a company to stay in the same role for 20 years, right? I certainly didn't. And, the company gave me a lot of opportunities to try other things and take on new challenges. And I think it's incumbent on us to make sure that we're doing the same thing for everybody on our team. So I think if it's clear to the organization that, listen, if I perform, there's going to be more opportunities for me. There's going to be more responsibility I might be able to take on. There might be more, just broadly in it for me career wise. I think that also helps sort of. It's a value that I think we can instill in the team, that allows them to feel comfortable that, hey, if I work as part of a team, if we succeed, if the company succeeds, ultimately, I'm going to succeed too. And I think, and this is the last part of it, I think that only really works if it's genuine.
Mm.
Right. I think it's easy to see when it's easy to hear platitudes. It's easy to hear lip service. It's easy to hear things talked about but not followed up on. I think
Mhm.
it's really important that the team see authenticity in the leadership that they're working with. So I think that's a big part of what we try to do, right? Is leaders and as sales executives is to make sure that we're leading with us authenticity. So
Yeah, yeah. And maybe a follow-up question on that authenticity, that people often say that. How would you say you express authenticity?
I think it's hard to I think it's hard to articulate outside of by making it very clear that the things that you say, that everything that you say that you're going to do, that you do. That
Mm.
if we say we're going to go act on something, that we follow up on it. If we say we're going to pay attention to a particular metric or goal, or we're going to drive a specific strategy for a given year, that we show the organization that we're measuring that on it, throughout that time period. That we are actually, doing things in order to drive the outcome that we said we wanted.
Mm.
And I think, look, people know when when their leadership team cares for them. At least I believe they do, right? I think you can see that in the way you interact with people. I think you can see that in following up on things. I think they're all, it's, while I don't think there's a great, hey, do these three things and you'll be authentic.
Right.
I think it's easy to see, harder to articulate.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. And so I'm going to go back to a point you made previously about customers and how you love interacting with them.
Yeah.
So building and maintaining strong relationships with clients is crucial for sales success. How do you ensure your sales team develops and nurtures long-term partnerships with your customers?
It's a great question. So, first of all, you got to teach the team how to do that, right? So, a lot of our enablement focuses on building champions, meeting with economic buyers, with how we educate the customer around not just our solutions, but the problems that they're faced with and the implications of those problems. So I think there's lots you can do there, right? I think in terms of what that actually looks like day to day, I think it's vitally important that we identify the people with authority within an organization to make decisions, to take on initiatives, to initiate change, right? That we identify them, that we educate them around how BMC can help them, around what sort of problems we see their organization faced with, the implication of them, and how BMC can play a role in resolving them. And that we tie that back to, similar to what we were talking about before in, driving sort of, company goals, that we tie that to how they win personally, right? In situations like that, in order to build effective champions. And then once we've built them, we go act on a deal, for instance, or a project or whatever it might be, that we deliver on it, right? That we do back authenticity, that we do what we said we were going to do, that we drive the outcomes and the metrics that we set out to achieve in the first place. So I think when we're effective at doing those things, we build really strong champions. We make reinvestment in BMC much, much easier. And we try to teach the team how to do those things because they drive BMC's success.
Yeah, well, they do. And thank you for sharing that point. And so moving to, a way to stay competitive in the market, talking about customers, how does your sales team differentiate themselves to keep that competitive edge?
I think it's sales process, right? I think it's, we talked a little bit about, there's a secret sauce that includes a lot of these ingredients from different things that we talk a lot about and that we teach the team about. I think that's one part of it. I think, really making sure that the team is continually sharpening the sword with, what's new and relevant in our space, and in sort of the problems that we solve, right? Making sure that they understand the implications of those, tying what we do to, the latest challenges that our customers are faced with in their markets, right? And educating ourselves around those customers, their competitors, their vertical, et cetera, I think is really important. And, back to building champions, right? That we understand, what the customer, right, or the prospect is really trying to achieve, and tying all of that back to, ultimately their goals. I think that's really what it boils down to.
Well, Jeff, finally, this is the last question I have for you. And to keep in mind, the audience is, we're Baylor students, we're young in college. And so with that, we'd love to hear any additional insights or message you'd like to share with us, lessons learned, advice, things of that sort, anything that comes to your mind.
Sure. So first off, be open, right? It, especially, coming out of school, even in school, you will see a million opportunities in front of you. And my suggestion would be to remain open to all of them, try things, to go out and take a job that you didn't think you might have taken originally, right? Or that might be a little far afield of what you thought you were going to do, or in an industry that you didn't know you were particularly interested in. But just to try things and to remain open to them. I obviously look, work hard. It as you achieve things, as it's clear that the organization, any organization, can depend on you to deliver the things they ask of you. You're going to get more opportunity. You're going to create the next role for yourself, but within your hard work, and by delivering on the things that the company, whatever company asked of you, and what you guys how you ultimately delivered it, and have fun. Look, especially in this day and age, I think it's really important that we do things that we enjoy, and that our passion can come through in our work. Like I said, I love interacting with customers. I love solving problems. I love helping people. I feel like sales is a great way to do that. And I certainly have a great time. I love the team and the community that we've created here. I love working with them. So all of this for me is a great deal of fun. This is my idea of a good time. Find your idea of a good time, and go do that. And I promise you're going to wind up being successful. And know that, that all of us here at BMC, whether you're interning here this year or not, that we're rooting for you, and, that we wish everybody the best. So go Bears.
Yeah, go Bears. Thanks, Jeff. I mean, you mentioned authenticity is from leaders is just showcase, and your first point was be open, and you went from history to sales. And so I think that's a great, showcase of history to being open. So, but thank you so much for your time today and for the conversation, Jeff. It's been a pleasure getting to know more about you and your leadership role. On behalf of the entire professional selling program, we wish you the best of luck and look forward to seeing BMC grow as well as you in your career. So thanks so much, Jeff.
Thanks. And it's been great having you here too. So thanks to Baylor for certainly, giving us some amazing people to work with here at BMC. And we look forward to continuing that relationship. And like I said, go Bears.